And hello everybody, welcome back to British Stand. Today we've got yet another debate reaction for you to watch. Ever since the local election, the main topic of discussion really has been with regard to illegal immigration. The local elections did show, and the results of the local elections did show, that British people have had enough of illegal immigration, the boats, asylum hotels, and HMOs, of course, being given to asylum seekers instead of homeless Britons. It is something that is a huge problem, and again, the local elections results do show how much of a problem it actually is. Now, in today's debate, it's a little bit different. We've got a caller like you and me, in terms of just an ordinary person coming on and giving her thoughts and why she has voted for reform, and her main reasons for those are, of course, the illegal immigration crisis. She speaks passionately, and of course the Labour MPs scramble to give answers. They start to nod their head. I think Keir Starmer the other day has started to act the tough guy and stated that he's all for stopping illegal immigration. I think they've had a bit of a wake-up call, I suppose, since the local elections. Not going to happen under a Labour government, but regardless, let's have a watch of it. Let's see the Labour MPs' reactions and all that kind of stuff, guys. But as always, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more British content. Have a watch.
Those asylum hotels, they've increased the number, and
closed 23 since the election.
Let's be honest and not disingenuous about this. Why does your government never even look at the prospect of derogation from the European Convention on Human Rights, which would stop lawfare, preventing the removal of foreign prisoners and asylum seekers whose claims have failed?
Right.
You won't even look at that.
I don't. Shannon Freeman, who lives near an asylum hotel in Chesterfield. Hello to you, Shannon. What are your concerns?
My main concerns are to do with homelessness. I feel that there's a big issue with it at the moment, and although the Chesterfield Council are trying, there is a massive backlog of local residents that do not have a home to live in. So when the likes of those at the Sandpiper Hotel are housed and fed and clothed and with no expectations of working or giving back to the society, it enrages local residents like myself.
I mean, the bottom line, Shannon, is that I talk about this a lot with my constituents in Makerfield, which is in Wigan, where there were two asylum hotels, and there were also houses of multiple occupancy paid for by the Home Office. It enrages me too. When I see a constituent who is homeless, and down the road I see a new Serco HMO that's opened up, paid for by the Home Office, that's wrong, and there's no two ways about it. It is outrageous that a system has been allowed to develop in this country that effectively says to local people all over the United Kingdom, just like you, Shannon, we are, the Home Office, going to come in, we're going to take a hotel away, we're going to fill it because we failed to run our system, and in the meantime, local residents are going to be homeless. That's wrong.
The Dublin Agreement says that you claim asylum in the next safest country. If you're travelling from, say, Syria or Somalia, you're travelling through Greece, Italy, France, Germany. Other countries have dealt with this in a much more robust way. But
the issue is that they're being housed and they're not contributing anything to the society. People are fleeing war-torn countries, women, children, families. And yet, such as the Sandpiper Hotel, the reason that's made news is that's I think it was a 46-room hotel, but it's full of men. So we've been lied to there. We don't know why they're there. They've been there for 2 years at least now. They don't seem to be leaving, and yet homelessness is on the rise. The solution is necessarily having to close hotels down or remove certain people. It's not allowing them in the first place. So that is what we as the public are wanting to see, more action on that. And the reason we're not feeling heard is because of places like the Sandpiper, where they just enter our country for no apparent reason. And if that does not happen, it's going to cause an internal civil war.
Right. Well, you voted for reform, I understand, in these local elections. Was this the main issue that drove you to do that? All right, let me bring in Danny. Just a couple of things. Listening to everything that Shannon has said, and she has outlined very clearly, you know, people in migrant hotels for 2 years, the majority, if not all, are men. It doesn't look as if they are people fleeing persecution, although men can also flee persecution, of course. But can you see why, when we go back to our earlier conversation that you were talking about, people are angry and feel they're not being heard and nothing is being done?
Absolutely. I think Shannon and we all, the British electorate, have been let down by successive governments. And Shannon, it's
There we go, blaming the successive governments as always. The truth is they've not done anything since they come into power in terms of Labour over the last sort of 10 months. And again, Shannon makes a very, very good point. They're being lied to. Again, they have the power to stop all of this sort of stuff, but they don't. They are prioritising asylum seekers over British people that are currently homeless. That's the truth. So they can tiptoe around the point all they want. They won't answer the point that she said in a minute. They will just give a sort of party mantra line and toe in that sort of line, blame on previous governments. But Sharon is absolutely right on this point.
interesting that you talk about the right to work, because there was a time, for decades, asylum seekers who came here and were waiting for their claim to be processed were allowed to work, were filling shortage skills, were paying taxes. But about 20 years ago, under the last Labour government, the government stopped that right to work on the basis that apparently it was going to reduce the sort of pull to Britain. And it's done no such thing. People still want to come here, but it's the worst of all worlds possible, because those people who are sitting there languishing in these hotels want nothing more than to work, to keep, to be.
What's he going on about? They want nothing more than to work. BS. It's BS.
To have the sort of independence and freedom to do the things that they are qualified to do, that they're interested in doing. And meanwhile, because of the system that is, we have one of the slowest and most expensive asylum processing systems in the world. And that's why it takes so long. And meanwhile, we then pay hotels to provide the temporary accommodation. And so I certainly hear that the anger.
What would you do? I mean, if you were a
the asylum processing system, which will need public investment, which will need public employees. This will need people to process those claims effectively, to digitise some of that system so the government can be more efficient. Because, let's not forget, the right to claim asylum is a fundamental human right for those people who are fleeing persecution.
Yes, but is that an admission that governments, successive governments, are unable to stop people coming here in the first place?
Well, absolutely, because migration is a fact of human reality. As a species, we've done it for all the time we've been on this planet. And given how globally interconnected the world is, we're not going to stop all migration. We're not going to stop all irregular migration. But what we do need is an effective system that's cost effective to be able to judge when people have a legitimate claim to seek asylum here. So we need a fit-for-purpose system. We then need, of course, migration management that allows us to know more about who comes and goes.
Just get that point right there at the end, of 10 seconds before the end. Not calling it illegal immigration, calling it irregular immigration. It just tells you everything that you need to know. To be fair, I don't think that guy's a Labour MP necessarily. I think he's just a lefty political commentator or whatever. But regardless, there is no change under this Labour government with regard to legal immigration. And again, none of the people actually answered Sharon's points. And actually, they tiptoed around all of it. So again, Labour could never be trusted. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on that down there in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more British content. And just a quick one, sorry for the background. I'm currently on the road for the next couple of days. So yeah, a little bit tacky. But oh well. We'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.